Aloy's story, which began with Horizon Zero Dawn and reached its peak with Forbidden West, has now reached a point of no return. And in today's video, we're going to talk in detail about what has changed in Horizon 3, how the story has become darker, how online projects have delayed this game, and when we will finally start seeing the real final chapter, based on all leaks, official breadcrumbs, and reliable rumors. Before we get into the details, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get started. The changes that have taken place on the Horizon front over the last 1 or 2 years all come down to a single question. Has Horizon 3 really been delayed, or is Guerrilla preparing us for a much bigger finale? After Forbidden West and Burning Shores, the story was clearly tied to a final war, but instead of immediately announcing this third game, Sony and Guerrilla chose to expand the Horizon universe in different directions. And this is where the online projects came into play, inevitably shifting Horizon 3's timeline. First of all, one thing needs to be made clear. The Horizon online game does not exist to replace Aloy's main story, but to expand the universe. However, what's happening in practice is this. A significant portion of Guerrilla Games' main production power is currently focused on multiplayer projects. This means Horizon 3 is either being developed in parallel with a smaller team, or it will gain full priority only after the online games are released. This situation shows that the third game will not be rushed. On the story side, there is a very clear breaking point. With the ending of Forbidden West, the Horizon series has gone beyond tribal conflicts. The Nemesis threat is the biggest and most abstract enemy humanity has ever faced. This suggests that Horizon 3's story will be darker, more global, and much more high stakes. This is no longer about saving a single region. The future of the entire planet and humanity itself is now on the line. This is where the narrative impact of the online projects comes into play. The Horizon online games will most likely lay the groundwork for the world we'll see in Horizon 3. We will experience how different tribes, regions, and technologies function through these side projects. This paves the way for Horizon 3 to present a more unified, more political, and much more pre-war atmosphere. In other words, the online games are not just buying time, they are also preparing the foundation of the third game. So what do we expect to see on the Horizon front in 2026? The strongest possibility is this. 2026 could be the year when Horizon 3 is officially mentioned by name for the first time. Not a massive reveal, but a confirmation or a short teaser along the lines of, yes, Horizon 3 is in development is very likely. Because when we look at Sony's past big game strategy, we know that they like to make this kind of announcement about 1.5 to 2 years before release. If the real target is the 2027-2028 window, then 2026 becomes the starting point of that process. The biggest expected gameplay change in Horizon 3 is that the world will no longer consist of a single biome. With Burning Shores, Guerrilla started to make air-land-sea transitions work as a single system, and this was actually the infrastructure of the third game. In Horizon 3, we will see larger, more connected, and more alive maps. Tribal capitals, massive city ruins, open sea regions, and even semi-space technology zones filled with Zenith remnants will form the main structure of the game. Another impact of the online projects will be on enemy variety. In Horizon 3, we will no longer fight only machines, but also much more organized human groups and high-tech factions. It is very likely that equipment, weapon mods, and class-like systems tested in the online games will be integrated into the single-player experience in a simplified form. This means Aloy will no longer play merely as a hunter, but almost like a true war leader. Story-wise, Aloy is expected to evolve from a lone hero into a figure who unites the tribes. The Nemesis threat requires a coordinated global defense rather than the salvation of a single region. For this reason, it would not be surprising to see semi-strategic systems such as recruiting squad members from different tribes, building bases, establishing defense lines, and securing regions. This will be the largest scale narrative the series has ever delivered. The living world concept brought by the online projects could also be carried over into Horizon 3. We may see updated regions, shifting enemy routes, camps that change over time, and even quest outcomes that leave permanent marks on the map. This could transform Horizon 3 from a classic open-world game into a living ecosystem. When all these systems come together, Horizon 3 may become not just a sequel, but Guerrilla's most complex and longest-lasting single-player experience to date. The technical and design experience gained through the online games seems likely to push the third game into a heavier, but much deeper structure. Now let's get to the most critical question. When will we see Horizon 3? Looking at Sony's strategy for major single-player titles, they tend to keep the brand warm through side projects and then reveal the main game at a major event. For Horizon, those side projects are currently the multiplayer games and the live-action film. In other words, Sony is deliberately keeping Horizon 3's reveal behind these projects. This brings us to 2026. 2026 could be a transition year for the Horizon brand. one of the multiplayer games making its debut around that time, followed by the first Horizon 3 teaser being shown at a major PlayStation showcase or the Game Awards, is one of the strongest scenarios. This teaser may focus more on atmosphere than release dates, presenting a "the final war is beginning" tone. On the release side, the picture is becoming clearer. Looking at Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, we see that Guerrilla usually releases a game within 18-24 months after its announcement. If Horizon 3 is announced in 2026, this automatically takes us to the late 2027, early 2028 window. This timeline also aligns perfectly with the theatrical period of the live-action Horizon film. This alignment is not a coincidence. Sony wants to push the brand to the top simultaneously in both cinema and gaming, so it is highly likely that the marketing of the film and the game will be interconnected. Horizon 3 will not just be a game. It'll be a full-fledged brand showcase for Sony. For this reason, Horizon 3's delay does not look like a loss, but rather preparation for a much larger launch. The online games, the film, and the third main game, all of them are being aligned toward the same period. What Guerrilla is doing right now is not ending Aloy's story with a small finale, but closing it with one of the largest scale finales in PlayStation history. Nemesis is a very different kind of threat compared to anything we've seen in the Horizon universe so far. It is not a centrally controlled system like Hades or Far Zenith, but an uncontrolled, self-replicating, and learning artificial intelligence form. This means that in Horizon 3, the war will not only be physical, but also technological and strategic. In other words, Aloy will be at the center of a digital war, beyond simply hunting machines. This will seriously change the tone of the game. Horizon 3 is expected to deliver a darker, more dramatic narrative built on a balance between despair and hope. The world will no longer be just an open space to explore, but a living space that must be defended. Tribes moving into ruined city remnants, massive defense lines being built, and machine invasions threatening cities could completely reshape the game's atmosphere. The sense of community tested in the online projects can be placed into a narrative context in Horizon 3. Instead of positioning Aloy as a lone savior of the world, it is very likely that she will be portrayed as a unifying figure who brings together the leaders of different regions. The decisions we make in the game determining which tribes survive and which regions fall could give real weight to the story. This could make Horizon 3 a much more permanent consequence-driven experience compared to previous games. We may see dramatic outcomes such as entire cities being wiped out, regions falling under machine control, or certain factions disappearing from history. These kinds of systems align perfectly with the dynamic world logic carried over from the online games. So Horizon 3 will not just be a game that closes Aloy's story. It will also be a turning point that shapes the future of the Horizon universe. The massive importance Sony and Guerrilla are placing on this game also explains why we have been waiting for so long. When we look at the bigger picture, it is now very clear that Horizon 3 will be much more than a classic sequel. Guerrilla is positioning this project not as an ordinary third game, but as a major production that will carry Aloy's story and the Horizon universe into a finale that will be remembered for many years. This is why the delay of the third game feels less like a loss and more like preparation for a much larger experience in terms of content, scale, and impact. 2026 could be the year when Horizon fans finally start to see the reward for their patience. Most likely, within this year, Horizon 3's existence will be officially confirmed, and we will begin to see the first images of the Nemesis threat through a short teaser or atmospheric trailer. This trailer will clearly convey the darker tone of the new era and what kind of world awaits us. On the release side, the strongest scenario still points to the late 2027 to early 2028 window. This period is very close to the theatrical release of the live-action Horizon film and offers a perfect match for Sony's marketing plans. In other words, Horizon 3 could take the stage in a way that dominates both cinema and the gaming world at the same time. Even though the online games and side projects may seem like they delayed Horizon 3, this process has actually transformed the third game into something much bigger, much deeper, and much more ambitious. This takes us not toward an ordinary sequel, but toward one of the largest single-player finales in PlayStation history. And here's the best part. Horizon 3 will not only be the end of Aloy's story. It will also be one of Guerrilla Games and Sony's strongest signatures of the new generation PlayStation era. If you have connected with the Horizon universe so far, this finale will be more than worth the wait. The final battle that will determine Aloy's fate is on the verge of becoming one of the biggest finales in PlayStation history, with Horizon 3. And if you don't want to miss new leaks, trailer breakdowns, and every development on the road to release, don't forget to support me by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications. See you in the next video.